Hello, hello, welcome to Leap Taken. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today is going to be just a fun video. I'm going to be talking about divination practices. I will not be talking about every single divination practice known to witches, or man, or woman, or whatever, but I will be talking about common divination practices, and ones that I think we all have been introduced to, and maybe some of us use them, maybe some of us don't. So I'm going to start with like the least used, at least in my practice, to the most used. So that's why I have all these different things out here. So this is basically just showing you the different ways that I have tried to practice divination, or actively currently still use, but we'll get to that. So let me just start with the simplest one, and that's going to be the incense. So here's the deal about lighting an incense. It can be used for a bunch of different purposes, but one of the main purposes is also being able to read the smoke. I'm getting my lighter. So I will show you what I'm talking about. So you light your incense like you normally do. Hopefully it lights. There we go. So you light your incense like you normally do. And this is something, quite frankly, I used to do when I was a little kid. My mom would light incense. Hey, I grew up in the late 70s and 80s. So you see how that smoke curls around. And as a kid, my mom would sometimes have more than one going. But, I would do stuff like this, twirl it around, and see where it goes, see if it goes straight up. And when this happens, you can make like, let me pull it a little bit more over into the screen, but you can make, it's kind of like cloud gazing. So you can use this as a form of divination. I would definitely get specific types of incense that will trigger, intuitive powers and, talents and so forth. You definitely want to get that. I'm just making it making it curly, making the smoke rise more, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. So like, as this comes up, does it come up clean? That could be a trigger for you. Do you see certain images, that sort of stuff? So based on what you see, and if I do like this, what happens? Does it do, as I kind of put my hand here, I used to do this, like I said, as a kid, and depending on what would happen immediately, the shape it would take, if it curled or if it went straight up, that could be a yes or no. So you can definitely play around with stuff like this. It's actually, for me, it was fun because it takes me back to my childhood when I used to do this kind of stuff and make shapes. Like I could sometimes like get the smoke to disperse and make certain shapes and things like that. So yeah, that is definitely a form of divination. It's the smoke really that's doing it, how it comes up, how it curls. Like I said, if you see actual shapes, if you can see words, a letter, a symbol, you take it from there. Like now, of course, I'm looking at it as it goes further up, and it's like mesmerizing as all get out, but I will move on. So that's using smoke. Now, obviously, this could be not just for this. This could also be for the purposes of, using all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be, smoke. You can light sage or something like that and kind of accomplish maybe a 2-for-1. So you're doing divination and you're also doing a cleansing. It's up to you. But that's a really cool way, especially if you don't have much of anything. This is a really cool way of getting into divination and just like letting your mind kind of just go. Now, here's the other one. This is water. Now, you'll find a lot of like old school, maybe hoodoo practitioners, people who are kind of in that world. They use water. I mean, there's other cultures that use water too. And if you see like light, that's just light from outside coming in. There's nothing in here. But people gaze in water. Now, for me personally, I prefer to have, if I'm going to do water gazing, for the purpose of divination, I'm going to want a dark colored bowl. And this is my guacamole bowl for taco nights. That's typically what we bought a bunch of these for. You can take one if you're like me and use it for this purpose. So you just fill it up with water. You can fill it all the way to the top or just a little. It's how you want to go about it. I've heard some people put salt in it. I don't know. I just put just spigot water. And you basically just gaze in, Notice how I did like this and, to get rid of any light and stuff like that. And the purpose of it, you want to kind of have it a little dark. You don't want, light getting in the way. And the purpose of this is just to see what you see, what comes to you. You're going to do that thing with your eyes and your mind where you're looking at something, but you're not really focused. So you definitely want to do that. Where with the smoke, you're more focused. You could sort of slip into that state with the smoke, but with the water, I think it's kind of necessary for you to see with your mind's eye, and it might be reflected back. I am open to the idea of even using dyes or some sort of substance, oil, see how it breaks up in the oil, see if that tells you anything. There's a couple different practices as opposed to just gazing in water and waiting to see, hey, maybe that doesn't work for you. By the way, parts of witchcraft, like divination, certain things people have natural talents for it. And some of us it's a skill that we have to work toward, and grow the talent and get better at it. So I think water gazing is one of those things, or water divination. So maybe you need to put a drop, like just a drop of oil, see how it disperses and see if you can read that. Same thing, herbs like lavender seeds or something like that. Like I said, salt, even black pepper. Like if you have coarse black pepper, you could just drop a pinch in and see how it disperses and see if you see anything. You can do that, like I said, with herbs, all that sort of stuff. And the whole purpose is kind of taking like tea leaves and a little bit of that, but just looking how it shows up in the water or a simple bowl of water and just see what comes from it. See what messages you get, symbols, images, what reflects back to you. Don't underestimate this. This can be a powerful way of divination. But I believe that it's not one of those things you're either born with it or not. I think it's something that you can develop over time. It's my opinion. I know some people feel totally different, but that's what I feel about most of these divination practices. But with water, it's something you got to just keep trying and just seeing. And guess what? It's okay if it's not your thing. The next thing is going to be crystal ball. So this is my crystal ball. I got this from a Renaissance fair, actually. And as you can see, as I put my hand here, it's more like, I don't know if it's actually crystal. It's more like a gigantic glass ball, but it's really pretty and awesome. And it's got my little pentacle symbol here, or pentagram symbol here. So basically what you want to do is you want to definitely, see how it's reflecting everything back or just mirroring. It's glass. So what you can do is be in a dark place. You definitely need less light. And it's a very similar process to this. It's more about reflection, what you see back. This is one of those things where, again, I feel like it's part talent, part skill. You can grow the talent and learn to use this as a form of divination, as a tool for divination. Now, I'll be honest with you, I have not been able to see. I did try when I first got it, especially. I did try to see. I didn't see, anything. It didn't work that way in a very, but you know what? A lot's changed over the years. I probably should take another, I was going to say crack at it, but maybe we shouldn't call it glass ball and say crack at it, but I should take another try and see if I can divine anything using this, because that would be like super awesome since I already own it. That would be really nice. By the way, that's super heavy. So we have that. Now, the next are my runes. If you watch my channel, hopefully you do, have seen my other videos. And if you have not, please check them out. They're pretty fun. I made these basically dice. I'm calling them runes. And actually, these are just like wood cubes I got from the Dollar Tree. They're not even called dice. They're not, all the same size or anything. Really rough. And like right here, it's even chipped a little bit. I painted them. They're just, regular wood cubes. I painted them black and silver. I cut out symbols that meant something to me using my Cricut machine. So these little tiny symbols like this pentacle, and you got a moon and, eye and all that sort of stuff. The point is, I did this because what I want to do is either I'll keep them in a bag, which I haven't gotten a bag yet to do that yet. Right now, they're just like all my space on my altar here. my craft altar. That's really what this is. And I would just like, boom, do like that and look at the symbols. And depending on what I ask, this can make sense. Positioning after a while, yeah, that might make sense too. If like this is here, it might be a certain order I have to go in. Depending on how they fall. Like maybe I need to do these two things before I could get to this, that sort of stuff. So runes can be awesome. The key to that is you have to learn the symbols, learn to interpret what the symbols are. This gets a little bit more difficult where smoke, you're just kind of figuring out what you think you see and taking it that way. This concentration, obviously, for the water in the crystal ball, because you don't want to just start making up stuff. With this one, is it easier? Yeah, but is it easier? No, because now you have to interpret the symbols and, what comes first and how is my question really being answered? You don't ask, the dice or the runes, yes or no question, like, what are you trying to tell me? And by the way, if you do have runes, you don't maybe have to use them, depending on what your runes are, you don't have to use them all at the same time. Maybe you only want to use the one, and see what comes up. Boom. All right. So that's, I'm working with feminine energy right now, by the way. That's what that means right here. So that's my little that's a sign for feminine or female. And then there's like if you can see that, a woman's figure there. Silhouette of a woman in the middle. So anyway, these are, runes. I'm just really getting into, I just made them. So I really haven't really divined anything too much for myself. That is something, actually, believe it or not, I'm doing it today. As I'm filming this, we're still within a few days of the new moon. So I think this is a great opportunity for me to use these. So I will be doing that and giving myself a bit of a reading. But one of the things I wanted to make sure is that, I would get a different result every time I did it. And if you notice, it's switching up. It's not like they're staying on, one side. So they're pretty light. They're little small pieces of wooden cubes. They're not heavy. But yeah, runes can be your friend. You can get deeper meanings with those. A more holistic approach to an answer, to a question. Your answer will be more holistic as opposed to, yes, you're going to get the job, or yes, he's going to, propose. I don't know. Instead, it could be like, all right, yeah, he's gonna propose, but you're gonna get a yes. Look at this, like playing with my example. I don't know if you can see that. This is yes, and then this is like the male symbol, and then it's like rings. So it's like, yes, he's going to propose. Like, so there you go. There's the whole picture right there. If you guys can see this, hopefully it's coming up on camera. But yeah, like that could be your message. And you're like, okay, I feel pretty solid about my answer now. On the flip side, if you weren't, if it was something else, remember, these symbols are special to me. That's why I suggest even making stuff like this. And this is if you can draw, kudos to you, because you don't have to like invest in a Cricut machine that cuts out things for you. But if you don't have a Cricut machine, you can just draw your symbols like very carefully, maybe trace them, find a way to trace them if possible. And like, I don't know, there's a couple ways you can go about doing it, and then paint over it if you can. Maybe you create different symbols altogether, but it's unique to you. Maybe you make up your own witches runes with things that totally make sense to you, or you can just stick with some of the other actual established traditions and use those runes as well. That's perfectly up to you, but they can be awesome with finding out, past, present, future, all that sort of stuff, just getting a little bit more insight into things. Now, the other thing are oracle cards. Now, I know you see these over here, but we're not talking about this yet. Oracle cards. So I pulled up oracle cards that I actually own. I have not used these in a long time, full disclosure. So I have a little book here. Okay, so there's tarot and there's oracle. So I'm not going to sit here and give you a long, exhaustive description about all of these and the differences, other than oracle cards is just that. They can be anything. Like, oracle cards are just that. Like, look at this. You can have one deck that talks about this sort of stuff. I have another deck of oracle cards, they're based on an entirely different theme. It just depends. By the way, these are like super awesome and pretty, so I love these cards. So I love the imagery that's on here. Come on, life purpose, that's awesome. So the thing about oracle cards, you're going to want to take a gander at the book that comes with the cards, because the themes are so varied and different. You're going to want to know, what does this mean? Now, you don't have to. You could just look at the images and create your own meanings, obviously. However, I guess if you're just paying for the artwork, that's cool. But I kind of like to know what the author, the creator intended for when you look at these cards. So like in this situation, this is the whole theme because it's about spell casting. But magical, I'm just going to skip over it's magical guidance, spell incantation, and then magical meaning. So it says a spiritual experience changes your view, trust your intuition, and it goes into embrace your life to the full. Not full list, but the full. Anyway, so if you pulled something like this, let's say you pull an oracle card a day to sort of give you a glimpse into maybe what you should be focused on, or a reminder, of a bigger picture, a bigger goal. And it's like, hey, just pull a card to kind of get you set up for the day. You can do spreads with these as well. If you have an oracle deck, by the way, here's the back. You can basically find out, say, okay, I want to past, present, future. That's a simple spread, right? So looking at something like this, the cool thing about oracle cards is most of the times they have like words on them. So if you don't want to look at the book, which I'll be honest with you, I don't use oracle cards often, but for cards like these, I probably wouldn't be looking in the book that often. I'm just looking at commitment. Boom, I understand what that is, prosperity and truth. Depending on what I was asking, this might make perfect sense. I don't need to look at the book. So oracle cards are like super easy in that way. You can do larger spreads with oracle cards and kind of feel a little bit more confident, especially with something like this, like grieving. Okay, come on, so you're asking a question about, maybe you're doing shadow work and you're trying to get a deeper meaning onto, some of the stuff that's coming up. And imagine something like this comes up, grieving, and you're like, okay, yeah. And it triggers you to kind of think a little bit deeper about, I am grieving the loss of, my childhood, because I never really got to have a childhood. I had 4 siblings under me, and I had to take care of all of them. And looking back, I'm grieving for something I never really had. It could like really make you go really deep. So I don't know, oracle cards are awesome in that way. I do not use oracle cards a lot, full disclosure. But now that I am doing this video, I am much more open to revisiting everything that I'm talking about, because the way I'm thinking about it sounds really awesome and I really want to do it again. So those are oracle cards. So now let's talk about tarot. Tarot, however you want to say it. A funny thing is, I used to call them tarot. I pronounced the T in tarot. This went on for a while. I remember this. I was talking to this one girl, and I was like, yeah, the tarot cards, like tarot. That's how I was saying it. And she looked at me, she's like, tarot. And she kept saying tarot. And I was like, why is she saying that wrong? Yeah, fun times. Here's the thing. She never corrected me. She just kind of, went along with it. But anyway, whatevs. I learned. So anyway, I eventually learned that it don't pronounce the T. But if you do, so what? We're human. Leave people alone. But anyway, so the cards. The fun thing about tarot cards, now I want to say tarot cards, or tarot, is that you can get theme cards now. It wasn't always like this. You guys know that. If you've been practicing for some time, you couldn't get fun stuff like this. Like, I freaking love Friends. It's my favorite, one of my favorite sitcoms. It's my happy place. I think you should have a show that makes you happy. Abraham Hicks, I listened to one of her videos. Yes, I'm going on a tangent. Abraham Hicks said in one of her videos that I heard, where she was talking about, for her, it was the Big Bang Theory. You think of a show, it was in part of a bigger context of a conversation, but think, get like someplace when you're feeling, out of sorts and you're feeling stressed and you kind of want to unwind and you want to take your mind off of stuff. Like, find that thing, that TV show, something you can watch over and over again and feel good. And she was saying for her, it's Big Bang Theory. Also love that. That's one of my favorites too. But Friends is it for me. I can watch these episodes repeatedly, which I do, and just the imagery, the people in the background, I just feel comfortable with this on TV. I don't have to be super focused on it. It could just kind of be in the background of my life as I, move about my house, doing chores, even like on my phone or something like that. I find comfort. It makes me happy. So when I saw these cards, and actually someone told me about these cards, if you were watching this, thank you, told me about these cards, and I immediately went to Amazon and purchased them. So yeah, that's exciting. But anyway, about these. So here's the thing about tarot cards, and I have not, as you can see, they're in order, so I haven't played with them yet. With this, if you have certain interests, if you're learning about tarot cards and you're trying to figure out how do you know, like these are a lot of freaking cards, right? And you're trying to figure out what in the world, how do you guys memorize this? The short answer is first of all, the way my mind is set up, I don't remember everything. But the advantage to using these types of cards where it's a theme, if you're into Friends like me or whatever your deal is, you know who this character represents. You get his personality. So assuming that, the author of the cards and, the illustrator, they're all, taking this character and putting them in imagery on the cards that correspond with King, in this case, this is Chandler, King of Swords. So like, it makes sense. Actually, I have a better example where I think it's probably even better. Let me show you, because I didn't fix these up. When I first saw it, this made sense. Joey, if you know Friends, you get this, the Fool. Joey is the Fool. It totally makes sense. And when you see this, it's like, yeah, because he's like happy-go-lucky, he's silly, and he's, ready to take a leap off the edge. Will he fall? Who's to say? But he's happy about it, By the way, if you didn't know, the Fool is not a fool, actual fool. It's a deeper meaning. But looking at this, if I was learning or trying to get more acquainted, I should say, because not everybody's a beginner. A lot of people have that access to tarot cards. They just don't have them all memorized. The point is, getting this type of deck can be super helpful with that, because then you do know. Like Phoebe as the magician. Again, if you don't watch Friends, you don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Just stay with me. Like Phoebe on the show clearly was, if you watch those first early seasons, well, most of them, she actually at one point in one scene was using tarot cards. And she's really seems to be into, the concept of fairy tales and magic and all that sort of stuff. Like she'd be at a drum circle in New York. So it totally makes sense. And Rachel is the high priestess makes sense. Again, you'd have to watch the show to get it. And of course, like Rachel could have been the empress or the high priestess, to be honest. It could have went either way. Courtney Cox's character as Monica, definitely. And Richard's the emperor because, again, you'd have to watch the show to get it, but it makes sense. The point is, if you like the concept of using tarot cards and you want to get really better at it, find your vibe, like find your theme, use it, and it might help you understand tarot better. And there's the typical Rider-Waite deck. I think I have one of those somewhere around in my world, in my shelf or somewhere, but I'm not pulling that out. These are my go-to, very loved cards. This is the Everyday Witch Tarot. This is my favorite. I use these for almost every reading that I do, for myself, for anybody else, for others. This is top tier, my favorite. Like I like the size of the cards. They fit in my hand a certain way. They're loved on. Like I can shuffle them and, they just fall right in my hand. I've re-cleansed them. I use them. I love it. So the deal about these cards, they're themed, yes, but not like Friends. It's more like the imagery. First of all, the artwork is awesome. Are they what they call inclusive? Not really. They're not. It's not like a bunch of brown people in here, different ethnicities and all that stuff. No, it's not. It's the Everyday Witch deck, so you're going to see witches. So, like, here's your Nine of Cups and your Temperance. Let's look at Temperance, for instance. She's all about balance. So using this deck, most of the imagery is pretty solid where you don't have to kind of question, what the heck am I looking at? Like, how am I going to interpret this? And like, this is the sun, this card is pretty self-explanatory. If you pull this out and you were saying, hey, what's going to happen if I make this decision? If I make this move, what's going to happen? How's my day going to go? Like, and you got like, I don't know, a party to go to. Like, this is going to tell me it's going to be good, and you're saying, hey, what am I missing in my life? This is telling, hey, a little bit of balance, maybe. This one, yeah, you accomplish a lot. Look at you, girl. You're doing good. But, keep your focus. Kind of pay attention a little bit what's going on around you. Be grateful as well. There's a couple different themes going on here that you can interpret. But yeah, using tarot to me, and this is the last option here of everything I have displayed, I think you're going to get a much deeper meaning. Like, if I was to do a past, present, future with my tarot cards, yeah, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to get a definitely deeper meaning than, let's say, if I'm asking looking to the crystal ball about my past, present, and future. Maybe, hey, listen, some of us, like I said, it's a skill that can be developed, but real talk, it might take time, and people like me, I've tried it and I kind of just walked away from it, and it's more just more like witchy decoration, more so than actually using it for that way. But hey, I'm always open to using it. But a simple past, present, future type thing, this is giving you a little bit more meaning. Knight of Swords, Eight of Swords, Nine of Pentacles. The thing about tarot, you look at this and you're like, first of all, the numbers 8, 9, consecutive numbers. Then you think about the type of cards, swords and pentacles. Okay, that's telling you a theme here. If I'm thinking past, present, future, it kind of breaks down a little bit more about, okay, past and, rushing off. I'm going into, whatever situation. My present, I feel trapped, in whatever situation I'm in. Boom. In the future, you know what? All this that got me, from past and my present situation to my future, you know what? I'm going to be able to put my freaking feet up. Life's going to be good. You can look at it like that. Or whatever situation you have, it might not be like a direct, how do I say this? Like, what you see in a card, it's not like, oh yes, I will put my feet up and drink wine. Like, it's not the obvious thing. It could be simply, yeah, this stops. Like, this is just the imagery tells you what's, you don't have to keep doing all this because eventually you'll be able to like chill for a minute. Like, you could just take it really that simple. And that's what I love about this. And of course you can do more elaborate spreads where you get a lot more information and find out even more. There is one thing I completely forgot to talk about, which I think is common. I don't do this that often, but I know some folk do. Come on. Oh, my dollar store lighter. It's like to break my hand every time I try to light this dang old thing. But anyway, so let's talk about candles for a moment. It's not about the candle, it's about the flame. It's all about the flame. So gazing at the flame. Couple tips about doing this type of divination, because it can be a form of divination. Do not do this for more than 5-minute stretches. If you're looking at it for 5 minutes, take a break, do something else. It's not good for your eyes to stare into this flame for more than 5 minutes at a time. Just real talk. So you can push yourself and go a little bit. It's not like after 5 minutes, you're going to go blind. So don't think I mean that. But take it from somebody's mom. It's not healthy to do that. Is it the end of the world? No. Will you go blind? Not necessarily. But it's not good on your eyes, Just take my word for it. I'm somebody's mom, believe me. Okay, anyway, so don't gaze too hard into the flame, but it can be a wonderful way of divining maybe the future or what's happening now. You could approach this all different types of ways. Be mindful of your breath. Like, I'm talking, you see that blowing, and you see the flames reacting. That's not outside forces. That's my breath. But you can use that to your advantage. Which way does it lean? Which way does it flicker? When I move my hand, obviously the way, the physics works. If I'm moving it a certain way, moving my hand, creating wind, the flame's going to move. But maybe once it comes back, you pay more attention to how tall it gets, if it got shorter. The colors that you see, how it points. Sometimes, like as a kid, I remember looking at a flame because, again, I think as children, we do all this switchy stuff when we don't really think about it. But remember as a kid, like you're staring at a flame or something, and then you look at something else. It's kind of like with the sun. You don't look directly at the sun, but you can see like the spots and you can divine from that. Basically, where I'm getting at with all this sort of stuff is you can make almost anything a divination tool. Even something still like still water, anything can become a divination tool if you pay attention. I mean, listen, look at the palms of our hands. People use those. Yes, if you're a reader of palms, you have full access. Look at that. Look at my palm. Tell me what you will. But anyway, people use palmistry to give more insight, to give them a reading. It's all different types of stuff. I've even heard people use like your eyes, like old cultural, like old school type religions, or I should say not religion, spirituality. Somebody can look at your eyes and it can tell you about a lot of things, which is great if you're dealing with healers and things like that, because they can tell you all that sort of stuff by just looking in your eyes. I think like Chinese medicine is great for that. I've heard that they can kind of just look in your eyes and things like that. I think it's some African traditional spiritualities is something similar. I'm not sure, and even Native American, but I've heard. I don't know for sure, But anyway, so these are like basic, very basic divining tools that you can use. You can master all of them if you choose to, or you can just focus on one, depending on where you are. Honestly, if you've been doing this for a while, maybe you want to, light a candle and look at a flame for a bit and kind of do that, especially for those of us who kind of fell out of love with our magic a little bit. Things become routine, you kind of get bored. Hey, maybe you want to, light an incense, and instead of just walking away and assuming it's doing, the intended work, which is good, cleansing the area or bringing in certain energies or removing certain energies. Look at the smoke and see what you divine from that. Pull out your crystal ball, get your bowl of water, use that oracle deck that you've had sitting in your drawer or on your shelf for some time. Pull out that card, give yourself a quick one card reading, every morning and see what you get from that. And, pull out your deck that was the fun theme deck that, kind of sparked joy, as they say, to get you reacquainted with your cards again, or to kind of just get you back in love with doing some of this sort of stuff. Have fun with it, basically. And I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of inspo, a little bit of inspiration with divining. I'm not teaching you anything you probably don't already know or aren't aware of. It's more just kind of reacquainting you, kind of get you a little inspired, especially if you find yourself in a rut, or if you're just looking for something different. You've mastered the tarot cards. Let's say you went straight to the cards because this is easy to do. Go straight for these. There's a lot of resources on learning it. And you feel pretty confident, but you'd like to try something else, a little unconventional. So that's where maybe the water comes in. It's been around for a long time, but you might not be using it. So it'd be cool to do that. Just, and then of course the runes back there. A lot of us have heard about it, but we don't necessarily use them. Make some of your own, get the traditional kind, whatever floats your boat. But yeah, I think divination is a big part of witchcraft. It's not about always finding out the past, or excuse me, the future. Sometimes it's worth taking a look at your past to understand your current situation. Yes, finding out about the future is great. But I find that I tend to want to know more about a current situation. What don't I see? Yes, what's coming around the bend, but the thing about divination is you can have different outcomes. Sometimes it's a warning. Hey, this could happen. So it's up to you to do some things maybe so that that doesn't actually happen. It doesn't mean that that will happen. Hopefully you guys understand that. But leave in the comments, let me know what you guys think. Are you using something different? Are you using any of the things that I'm talking about? Just share in the comments and let me know. As always, thanks again for watching. I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. Please like, subscribe, share. And don't forget, let me know what you're using divination-wise. Like, what are you into? I'm really curious to know what everybody else uses. All right. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.